Hi, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop here on YouTube. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about A Werewolf in Riverdale by Caleb Rowling. I really enjoyed this novel a lot. I kind of loved it, actually. I'm a huge fan of Archie comics, and I'm a huge fan of Riverdale, so if you like both of those things, or at least one of them, you're definitely going to enjoy this novel. I think what's kind of key in why I like this novel so much is because Betty is a central character. I've always loved Betty. Even before Riverdale, I was always Team Betty. I couldn't really stand Veronica in the comics. She's the most self-involved, selfish character ever. But I've always been Team Betty. So I love Betty in this novel. And the fact that she's a werewolf hunter makes it even better. Now, this novel is loosely based on the comic series Jughead the Hunger. So if you liked the comic series, you definitely want to read this book because it's not the same. It draws similarities. You know, it uses the comic as inspiration to this entirely different story. It has a lot of the elements from the comic series, and I know from my research, because I hadn't read it, but I researched it. So I did a lot of research on it, and it draws a lot of these elements. It takes the comic series and then deconstructs it and makes something completely new. So I thought that was great. That it's not the same. You never ever want to read something that's just the same. Just like whenever you watch remakes, unless the classic is bad, you don't want to see the exact same movie replayed. I'm still waiting for them to do a good version of The Portrait of Dorian Gray. So never trust remakes. Sometimes they're okay, other times they're just bad or mediocre in comparison. So I like the fact that this novel is not a remake of the comic series. It's something completely new. It uses elements from the comic series, definitely. Jughead is a werewolf. But it tells a completely different story about Riverdale. And it's a standalone novel. It's the first in the Archie horror book series, but it is standalone. And it has a lot of these great characters that readers already know about, whether you're either a fan of Archie comics or the Archie Weird Mysteries cartoon series, or Riverdale, the TV show. I mean, if you are familiar with any of these, you're going to be familiar with these characters, and that's what I liked about this novel. Because the author really stays true to who these characters are, like their core personalities. And even if it makes Jughead a werewolf, or Betty a werewolf hunter, and Archie is the same. Archie is the same, and I think that's good, though. You kind of want him to be the same, but he's similar to, once again, if you've seen Archie's Weird Mysteries, the cartoon series, he's very similar to that, actually, and I really like that's what he's similar to. So overall, I mean, it's a really good book, and I loved it. I'm a huge Betty fan, so the fact that there's very little Veronica in the novel and a whole lot of Betty in the novel is really a plus for me. I do like Veronica in the TV series, but I'm not caught up, so I don't know what's happened these past 2 seasons. But I do love Betty. And I like how she's like the central focus of the story as a werewolf hunter. There's a lot of drama to her. She's so kick-ass. I mean, we see her go through an obstacle course, and she's like brilliantly executing this obstacle course for werewolf hunting. And she kicks like a lot of ass. And I think that's amazing. Betty Cooper is kicking ass. I love that. And she makes a formidable werewolf hunter, I will say that. Jughead being a werewolf, I think it fits. He's always hungry. So it fits with his character. And it's pretty obvious from the beginning, and also, the back cover blurb does already tell you Jughead is a werewolf, and the cover gives it away as well. I mean, it's definitely Jughead with that hat, come on. So it kind of gives it away really early on, even before you open the book up. But that doesn't take away from the tension of the story. There's a great plot twist later on in the story, and I didn't see it coming. I was just like, what the, so I thought that was really good. There's a lot of tension there with these murders. Someone is murdering people, tearing them apart like a werewolf would. So it's really interesting to see how that is going to be developed. And it's interesting to see how that tension is built up in the story. You're engaged. You're in the back of your mind, you're just like, no, Jughead wouldn't kill anyone, even if you were a werewolf. Like, you wouldn't do that. So you're searching for answers as you're reading this novel. You're engaged in the tension and in the storytelling, and you want to know what's going to happen next. So I thought that was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. Now, I give it 4 stars because the way it opens, I do like it. Don't get me wrong. It really does create a really good atmosphere, very haunting horror, like a Werewolf in London kind of atmosphere. Werewolf in London? Werewolf in Paris? Werewolf in America? A really good werewolf movie, It has a really strong opening of a werewolf movie. Foggy night, walking along, same story, full moon in the sky. The scene is painted perfectly. But after that opening chapter, the pacing slows down a lot for a couple chapters. At least until one of the plot twists comes in, and then, woo, it rises along with the tension. Now, the fact that it slows down, I'm not going to lie, I did lose interest a little bit. I tend to read at night because, it's easier. It's when my son tends to, be asleep. So I kind of get all my reading at night, sometimes in the afternoon if I'm able to. So the fact that it was kind of losing my interest a little bit in those couple chapters following the opening is why I didn't give it 5 stars. Because ultimately I love this novel. I loved it. I thought it was so good. Honestly, I would love to have this book. And I definitely recommend it to everyone. If you're an Archie fan, if you're a werewolf fan, if you're a horror fan, definitely, I highly recommend it. But the fact that the pacing lags a little bit after that opening chapter, especially when you have such a high tension chapter like that with such great atmospheric writing, it loses interest. It lost my interest at least a little bit. I was just kind of waiting for it to pick up again, and I stuck with it because that opening chapter, it was phenomenally written. There's no doubt about that, and I'm glad I stuck with it because the way it picks up, the way it unveils plot twist after plot twist, developing Betty Cooper as a werewolf hunter, developing Archie as well. Archie, it kept the core of the characters the same. These are characters readers are going to be familiar with, but they're brought to life in such a different, new way. So the reader is engaged in the story, and so ultimately I did like it. At the end of the day, I'm in love with this novel. I absolutely love it, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely highly recommend it. And if it weren't for those few chapters, I sort of lost my interest a little bit. I want to say it was just 2 or 3, but I would have given it 5 stars. I would have. Especially because you already know who the werewolf is. So you're just like, okay, so why am I reading this? And that's what you're kind of wondering when you're reading those chapters that kind of lose your interest. Because you already know it's Juggy. But other than that, it was a great novel. Executed wonderfully. I want to read it again. So ultimately, I loved this novel, and I definitely recommend it. Once again, this is A Werewolf in Riverdale by Caleb Rowing. Definitely purchase it from your local bookseller. But if money is too tight, which, in today's day with the coronavirus, money is tight for a lot of people, check it out from your local library. Please support your local library. They need as much help. And if money is not too tight, support your local bookseller. Please just don't go run off and buy it on Amazon. They get enough business from, selling everything else to people. So support your local bookseller. Support your local library. I can't stress that enough. So on that note, have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy reading.